Well, hello everybody. Yes, it is about a train set this, but since starting to film it, and I'm still in the process of doing it, I thought I'd better do like a foreword that you have in a book, you know, where they explain the author or something like this. You know, it's just at the beginning before you start into the meat of the thing. So, having started this, I suddenly thought, and I'm filming this outside on the 9th of January, and we've got the sun out, and it's not too cold. I mean, I've got my top button done up, but yeah, got some flowers out on the Hebe behind me, which is really nice, isn't it, in January? So I just thought I'd do this out here. At the end of this video, you are not going to have a price of my train set, just in case you were hoping that's what you're going to get. This is more a video to show you some of the individual costs of my train set. It's not the whole cost of the train set, and it isn't about the cost of the engines and the rolling stock. You can see my other video on that is about 3 months old now or so. So I just thought I'd put this at the beginning to just clarify it a bit. So, you know, you're going to see cost of bits of track and parts of the stations and this sort of thing. So that's all it's about. It's not an absolute comprehensive trawl through my layout, because I think you'd be sitting here for about 5 hours. I've already cut loads of stuff out because it was getting so flaming long. It's very difficult to do a comprehensive thing like this, I'm finding. Anyway, you'll now have the title and my mug again, I'm afraid, for quite a bit of this, but never mind, can't really odds it. Cheers everybody, bye. Well, hello everybody, welcome to Robert's Train Set. The title of this, my train set, what you need and the costs. Okay, so about 3 months or so ago, I did a video on my trains and their costs, and that was just basically showing you a train running, so an engine and some carriages or some goods vehicles running around the layout, and I said to you how much it cost, so how much the engine cost and the individual carriage, and then the total cost of that train. It did very well, in fact exceptionally well for my layout. It's really good. So this is in the same idiom, but you see a lot on YouTube about model railway that it is expensive, and yes, it is expensive, I suppose you'd say, but how expensive? So the name of the title is my layout outside. Now, I'm not going to tell you absolutely everything to build this layout, because you probably won't want this one. You'll want your own, won't you? So ostensibly I'm doing a DCC video. Now it could be N gauge. I mean, this is 00. It could be N gauge, it could be HO gauge, which is the continental ones, and America use HO. It's basically 00, only a little bit smaller. Not much, not a lot that you'd notice, I don't think. And HO and 00 use the same track, so no problems there. And then there's a much bigger O gauge, and then gauges above that. But O gauge is double the size of this one. So to get the same layout on here, you'd need a board about 16 foot long by about nearly 10 foot wide to get the same layout in O gauge. And obviously everything is appreciably more expensive. The locos are very expensive. Even a point, whereas you can get a point in O gauge in 00 for perhaps £9 or £10, you might be talking about 40 quid for an O gauge point. So I will hark on it a little bit, but this is ostensibly 00 because I've only been doing this hobby for 2 years, so I'm not a great master of knowing what's what. Did a little train set as a lad, or quite a big train set as a lad, which was totally different, absolutely totally different. So I'm going to go round with the camera and sort of show various points on the layout and explain the costs in that piece. And if it's anything to do with the control, I will do a little piece on how it works. So no running session on this one, but I have got some trains running around. Now, I haven't actually turned the sound off so you can hear me. There's no sound on these. These are purely DCC controlled locomotives with no sound. Well, except going over the clickety-clack and all that, which, you know, isn't generated by the computer. So you can have a layout with these type of locos on, and you haven't got to get into the expense of the sound DCC, which is appreciably a bit more expensive than just plain DCC. This layout is actually on Conti board, and you might know Conti board from MFI furniture or IKEA furniture perhaps. It's basically chipboard with a Formica face to each side. It's fairly stiff. It's not particularly cheap, but again it's not hugely expensive. The other boards you can use are MDF, which is MDF stands for medium density fibre board, and a lot of the furniture is made from medium density fibre board now, and it's a good material. Doesn't like getting wet, although you can buy waterproof MDF, which again is obviously more expensive. So I think I'm going to finish this bit, and we'll carry on with going around the layout, watching the trains as they go past, and I'll explain what's on there for you. Ranging from, you know, the cost of a single straight, the cost of a point motors, the controlling mechanism, and basically the brain of the system. My system, there is one expense that if you want to run it the way I do it, you need, and that's a computer, either a desktop or a laptop. I run mine from the laptop, but I'll explain that in the video. So here we are having a look at the whole of the layout from one end, and obviously you to get a layout this size you need quite a bit of track. Although it's quite a small layout, you know, there are 3 continuous tracks. How do you start? There's various ways, to be honest, but I started the very easy route of just buying a train set. I bought a train set that had a double layout, so 2 tracks. So these 2 tracks, they came with the layout, with the train set, and I've added to them. Obviously it wasn't quite this big. My initial train set was would fit on a 6 foot by 4 foot board, 1800 millimetres or 180 centimetres by 1200 millimetres or 120 centimetres. But it's down to what size you can fit. If I gave you one piece of advice, if you can get a bigger board in and you can see it working, I would do it. I did actually add a bit of extra board in this one to make it 8 foot from 6 foot. But be practical. It's no good trying to get a layout this size into a bedroom and you can't get round it and you can't get onto it, you know. You do need to get access somehow to it, because trains fall off, I'm afraid to say. So we're now going to look at individual pieces of the layout, and I will do costs written and, well, probably pictures, because I think that's going to be the easiest, but I will show you it on the movie and then have a picture of it and what's what. I went on to Hatton's just at the beginning of January, and I went to Hatton's. There are other, obviously, Rails of Sheffield will sell you trains, Hatton's will sell you trains, Hornby will sell you trains and what you need. Hornby tend to be retail price, so more expensive. So I went on to Hatton's and I looked for some of the stuff that is on this layout. Some I found, some I didn't. So with the trains going through, obviously the first thing you need on a train set is some track for the trains to run on. Now in my layout I use Hornby, mostly Hornby set track 100, which is, you know, basically what you'll get in a train set, and it's made up of straights and curves and points. As you So the other thing to mention about points is this is a curved Hornby point, and if I wait until the train runs over it, and go in reasonably close, what you're looking at here is where the rails meet. There are technical words for it which I can't remember, but what you can see there is the black part of it is plastic, and this can cause the locos to stop as we get another loco through. This one obviously doesn't. If you're going to run lots of little locomotives with only, say, 4 wheels, so 4 O's, they could be a problem, as they were for my 040 diesel shunter, which we have near enough fixed. But the alternative to that is this point here, and this is a pico point, and I used it because I was having troubles up this end, so just as the train goes over again, this, if you look, has got no actual plastic where the actual wheels of the train will run. So you don't tend to have a dead spot, but with this type of point, in the way I'm using it, you need to isolate that point, the pointed bit, and the way to do this is on where you join the pipe. Sorry, the train's got in the way again. If I pan in a bit, so where the rails join the point, on these 2 inner points, where these rails meet, you need a gap, and you also need a fish plate that is insulated, i.e. it won't transmit electricity. Doing this, when you throw the point, the blade here connects to the live rail and makes that frog part live to the right polarity, and obviously when it switches it does it the same. There are loads of videos on these points, and these points are called electro frog, and the other point is called insul frog. It's in the word, isn't it? Insulated on the Hornby one and sort of live on the pico point. And these electro frog points aren't particularly any more expensive than the other types. My method of holding the track down is basically pins and screws. And what I will say to you is if you go my route and use Conti board, you will not get a pin through the hard surface of Conti board. You will need a little fine drill to drill a hole through to get it into the board underneath. And also to the screws, you'll just, if you use brass screws, you'll snap the heads off and everything. So you do need to put a pilot hole in if you use Conti board. So as we have the 4MT tank going through with its carriages, it's going over a level crossing. So this is one of the items that you will probably need to buy if you want a level crossing. And as you saw in the previous clip, I have another level crossing, which is basically, it was a single level crossing, but I've made it to go across the 3 lanes. This level crossing you're looking at now, the gates against the backdrop part are actually come with the level crossing, so you get the gates and the barriers with the kit. The actual extra bit of road and that on the outside layout is I just made it up from card and black insulation tape really, and then just painted a few lines on. So that's that one, and you'll see a picture of it straight down and the price. So that's the level crossings. So once again, as the 4MT tank slides past, the other thing you need on a model railway, or even a proper railway really, is obviously signals. These are semaphore signals, i.e. the old-fashioned types which go up and down, and the other type of signal you can have is obviously the electric ones, the lights. So we're about to have a whole load of trains come past, but as you can see I've got 2 electric lights on here. They're basic Hornby 2 light system. The reason I've only got 2 is I haven't got any more control boxes to control them through. So the 2 is probably what I'll finish with unless I want to buy a new box. So they work very well, and with the exception of the one that was faulty, they're fairly, well, so far they've been very, very reliable, so I'm quite happy with them. So as we have another load of trains coming past, so we'll pick up on the 411 EMU, electric multiple unit, in southern region green, and as I follow it down we obviously can see my station, my big station, and if I continue down, my other 2 stations. Which is just on the corner there. So although stations aren't an absolute requirement of a model railway, for me I wanted as many as I could get, and I haven't done bad with 3 stations and an 8 before, so I'm quite happy with that. So we'll just have a little look at some of the bits that make this up. So as the 040 shunter goes by, in the picture now is actually a unloading shed really, but I use it as an engine shed because I didn't think of buying an engine shed when I started this. I probably would now, but in the pricing it is I think an engine shed because they didn't seem to have this on the website. So yeah, one of those. We'll just let the old steam loco go through quietly. Oh well, look, there's the electric going through as well. Oh, and the little 040 shutter wants to get in the picture again as well. Greedy little boy. So talking of buildings, you obviously do need a station building. This one here that you can see, and if I pan round slowly, the little house with the back garden and the flowers in the raised bed, they came with my Hornby small station kits, of which I bought 2 of. And I've obviously made them into semi-detached houses with different textures. And if I raise up a little bit, I've got a block of flats there with some shops. This was a card kit, or basically it was a kit where you download from the internet the actual pictures of the building, and then make it out of your own card. I use beer boxes. I'm quite good at using beer boxes. And beyond the block of flats with the shops in is my curved station. The actual platform for this one that you're looking at, centre picture now, I made completely from scratch with card from my beer boxes and pictures of various services that I stuck on. And the building sitting on it, the waiting room and the toilets and the canopy, this was a download again from the same company that gave you the block of flats, again which you glue to card and use your own card and everything to make it. And they're very, very reasonable, although they are quite hard work, quite difficult to make, I found. And moving slowly over to the corner station, this is actually a cheat. The platforms you see are real, but nothing else is. The people are, obviously, but all the other bits, so the building and the fencing, basically are pictures that I took, and then just cut them out and stuck them onto my backboard. So yeah, bit of a cheat, but it works. So as our locomotives make their steady progress around my layout, if I go to the centre, you will see various vehicles, buses, coaches, cars, lorries, and obviously you do need to buy these. So I've done a very small selection of cars. I won't give you absolute prices on these because they go up and down. You go into the bargain basement part of Hatton's or Wales and Sherrill, they'll be selling these off at very reduced prices. You know, maybe £8 for a bus that might have cost 20 quid or £25 when it first came out. So as long as you're not trying to do an era, and you've got to have all the right buses and everything, just buy what is cheap, which is what I've done. The cars, as you will see, they vary between £4.50 and £5.50 perhaps. They're never that much more expensive. And most of the cars on this layout, Oxford die-cast, very good, I find. I'm quite pleased with them. Not all of them are, but a good majority of them are. So to finish up on this, we're going to go to how I control my train set. And this is the interface of Hornbys Railmaster on my laptop. I would recommend having a reasonably up-to-date laptop, although I don't think you absolutely have to have an up-to-date one, but it would perhaps be sensible to have an up-to-date one as you can get. This one is not that new. I've had it a reasonable amount of time, but it works reasonably well, and I do my editing and everything for my YouTube videos on this. And I will show you various pictures of the components that you need to make this operate and try to explain how it works. So I hope you've enjoyed this and it's not been too boring, and I'll see you just at the end. This is the iLink. You get this box, you get a power supply, and you get a CD-ROM to do this. So we have two cables here. We've got the power supply in, and we've also got the USB connection to the computer. At the other end we have the outputs. The black cables are for the track, and the two white cables go to my programming track, which I will show you a picture of later on. This is the 1 amp power pack that came with my train set when I bought it, but I was advised to get a bigger one, so the one at the back of this, the one without the light, is a 4 amp power supply, which was about 35 quid. The lead, the track lead from the E-Link goes to these connectors on the track. There's two here and another two here, and I have a further two in the layout. This is my programming track on the floor. Basically this is what you program your locomotives on, what you want them to do, and also to change their numbers, their running numbers, which is how you control them. If you have a very simple layout, you might not need one of these. You can do it actually on your layout, but you must remove all other locos before doing so. So although you don't actually need points on a layout, it does make it more interesting. And as you can see with these, I have motors, little motors to control them. But you don't need them. You can have just the points and operate them by hand if you want, as I do here in the fiddle yard. The points that you do have motors for are controlled by these boxes that are fitted under the layout. I have 4 of these boxes, and you can see the numbers on them. You program them yourselves from your computer to give the point numbers on them, or the signal numbers. And these have wires that come out and go to the track and the points, obviously. So these are the track wires, A and B, and they go to a clip that you clip into the track. Here are the clips that you use, and you need one of these for each box that you have. And as you can see, they spread around the layout. This one's right next to one of the motors that it probably controls. On the sides of the box you have 4 of these connections, which as you see there are 3 wires going in, and each one of these 3 sets of wires goes to one point motor. So there is a bit of wiring to do. It's not particularly difficult, and I didn't find it at all hard setting this up, so I don't think you will either. On one of my boxes, 2 of these wires are actually to control the lights, the electric lights that I've got. Again, quite simple to do when they work. So, and that's about all there is to it. These will control your point, your lights. The computer will control which locos and how fast they'll go and which way they'll go, and the sounds if you have them, but you don't need the sounds. So finally, we'll just have a look at the Railmaster graphics on the computer, and I think it's fairly self-explanatory here. The obvious bit on the left is your layout, which is quite easy to construct. It's a representation layout, not an absolute minuscule, you know, up to the millimetre accurate. It's just a representation. But you have all your points, and you operate your points with the little buttons that you can see. And these have the number that's on those little boxes that are under the layout. On the right are your locomotives, depending on how many you've got, and you can scroll through them, and you can do various things with this. And you have 6 functions from your sound decoder, if you have one, which you can bring up, but you can access the others. So it's all fairly straightforward. And it's basically based on Hornbys Elite controller. That's basically what it's based on. So I just thought I'd show you a little bit of using the Railmaster. The reason I like it is it's not the best control for your railways. There are loads of other manufacturers that make them. Bachmann do them, Fleischmann do them, loads of others, and you need to just choose what's best for you. But for me, I like this. I've not got a very good memory, so I'd have trouble remembering, as you can see, all these numbers for the points. And a lot of the other controllers, you need to remember the numbers of the point so you can throw it, and you also need to remember the number of the locomotive you want to use. But on this system, and this isn't probably the only system that does it like this, you've got them all there, and you can just literally bring them all up, as you hopefully you can see from where I'm filming this. So I thought I'd just do a very short, get some of these trains running that you can see on my video camera, and film the computer screen on my other camera. You won't unfortunately be able to see the mouse because I can't get it all in the shot. So we'll start off with the little 040 shunter, and this particular one has got no sound, so as you can see there are none of the buttons here that you can bring sounds up, because there aren't any. So we'll just push it forward, and you click it backwards, so that's nice and easy. And then you can either click this to set it on its way to a predetermined speed, which I will do. You can either click this to set it on its way to a predetermined speed, which I will do. So 10 miles an hour, and away it goes. Or it would do. Always still does that. This has not run for a couple of days, so might be a little bit hesitant to do it. And you can slow it down with these sliders, so you can do it at 1 mile an hour. So I'll slow it down to 6 miles an hour, and he'll hopefully just carry on his way. So we now want to maybe start the when I find it. So we'll now start the 264T, which stands for Tank, Class 4 MT British Rail livery, which is in the station there. And again, as you can see, unfortunately there are no sound buttons up, because this is just a plain DC loco. So in this particular case, we'll just start it off with the mile an hour increments, and nothing really much happens until 3 or 4 miles an hour on this system. So it's just beginning to move now, which hopefully you can see on the video camera, and I'll just raise it up a bit, so in case you can't see it on the computer screen, it's now up to 7 miles an hour, and it's just creeping forward. And I've now pushed it up to 10 miles an hour, and it's on its way. So I think we'll leave it at 10 miles an hour, and we now want to go to the 411 EMU, which is an electric multiple unit, and this is further down here. You can do it singly like this, or you can jump it forward like that, a lot quicker. So although it's a 4-car unit, I couldn't find that in the Hornby database, so I've done it as a 2-car HAL unit, nearest I could get. Again, it's not a sound locomotive, but this particular back model has lights which I can turn on, which is basically the front number code on the back number code. And then there are lights, interior lights to the carriages, which I suspect you won't see come on, but whatever. And again, we'll just go forward and we'll raise it up a few miles an hour at a time. And don't worry about the 040 loco, it's disgruntled because it's not been used for a little while. So you might see that the electric train is creeping forward. We're now up to 5 miles an hour. 6, 7, 8, 9, and we're now going at 10 miles an hour, which is probably not quite right, but quite slow. So we'll go a little bit faster on this one. So there we are. So they're all running. If I go further down again, right at the bottom we've got the Bachmann Class 03. Now this one is a sound loco, and as you can see you've got all the sounds here, so whether you'll hear this I don't know, you might do. I'll actually do the horn, that should be loud enough. So that's what you get with the sounds, and you get different horns and lots of other things. If you want to use all the things, you click on the top bit here. If you want to use all the things, you click on the top bit here, and you get a new box up here, and you click on that, and you can see all the sound functions that are there, and there are actually more. Just pour it up like that. So as you can see, it's all at hand. You can start the engine with this. I won't because it's in the siding and we'll have a crash. But yeah, so it's all quite there, and you just click that off when you don't want it. Or if you want another one up, you click it and this will disappear and the other one will come up. So there we are. And for me it works. You can see all the things. So if we go up to here, this is like the system settings. This is for you to set up a locomotive. When you get a new one, you try and find it on the database and then you set it up. This is for editing an automatic program that you might have set up. This one is for designing the layout. That's for asking questions. Help, please. Right. This one is to do double headers, which means you have 2 locomotives running together. It doesn't work particularly well on this system because all the locomotives are really different. But whatever. This one is for recording a program, so you can run trains and it will remember the time scales between. And as long as you give the program a name, you can bring it up and run it again. This brings up a board with all your locomotives on, as you can see here. Well, they're not quite all of them, but you can get the bottom ones by just sliding up again. So they're all my locomotives on there, and you can choose it just by clicking on it, and if you notice it will go to it. There we are, the Thompson L1.
So yeah, so that works well. This is for program those accessory carriages. So the black boxes that are under the layout, that's how you program them. And then this turns everything off and saves all the information you need. This shows that it's been into the internet and checked for any updates, which you do get very occasionally. And this shows that the actual controller is working. That's a representation of the Elite controller, Hornby Elite controller. And this is for sensing track sensors, which I haven't got. So there we are. Down the bottom here you've got an all stop, so if you have a whoopsie, which happens occasionally, you can just stop everything. I won't. And obviously you can change the points with this. So you just click it and it does the point. And the same with the signals. The light signals, that is. The Ceramore are just there, they're not operated electrically. You can buy them, you can get electrically operated ones, but it won't work on this layout because you need all the gubbins to do it underneath the layout, and there's a table in the way. So this is just a quick run through of this program. It's not without its faults. I have had problems with it, and there are videos showing those problems, but it works for me and I'm happy with it. Yeah, but as I say, other programs are available, so if you want to go into model railways and you don't want to use this system, have a look and do a bit of research. Okay everybody, cheers. So I hope you've enjoyed this. It's more aimed at somebody thinking of coming into model railways. So if you've seen these or any of the other YouTubers that do model railway videos, and you're thinking of coming in, this will hopefully help you just decide, you know, okay, yes, it's expensive a little bit, but it doesn't have to be really expensive. And as I said at the beginning, you're not going to get a total price of this layout because of what I've done with it and how I've enlarged it. It would be quite a lot of money, but you don't need one this size. You can have a small oval and you can get as much enjoyment out of that as I do out of this one, or even the other YouTubers with huge layouts. So have a look at this. Go online, Hattons, Rails of Sheffield, Hornby even. There are also independent model shops that will sell you trains. Some do discount and some don't. My local one doesn't, but they just can't buy the... And the little 040 is not liking it this morning. I've even cleaned the track for it, it don't like it, so it being temperamental. It's all part of model railways, I would say. So yeah, hope you've enjoyed it, and if you haven't subscribed, it would be nice if you would. Any comments or any questions you have, please drop me a line, and I'll try and answer them. And if I can't, I'm sure some other YouTuber who can will reply. Okay everybody, I'd like to thank all my new subscribers that have come on board. I'm now into over 600 subscribers, so thank you for the new ones that have come on in the last week. And I'll just finally say another Happy New Year. I mean, it's not that far into New Year, so just in case you haven't heard my original Happy New Year, this is for you. Cheers everybody, cheers, thank you, bye.